this cost is not being measured fully, but I think it's starting to become very well known, and industry in North America will soon be demanding a greener product. What we intend to do is down here at the bottom, this is actually really important. This is where we're headed. So again, forward-looking statement. We got a lot of we got some drilling to do first. Um, we intend to emulate the Talvivaara mine in Finland. The Talvivaara mine is the only biological heap leach for nickel in the world. The Talvivaara mine has a fairly bad history. They had a significant tailings disaster. The Finnish government took it over and said it has to be done better. Mining has to do better, and they're not wrong. In conjunction with their partners, Trafigura, they came up with this methodology after a lot of time and money, and they're using it to produce battery chemicals on site. They use two heap leach pads, which create a biological reaction in the rock and remove the metals from the rock. The head grade of the Talvivaara mine is comparable to what we see in our drilling, if I had to, off the top of my head, average it at Surimeau. Our nickel grade is probably a little bit better. Our copper grade is a little bit better. Our zinc is several percent points of zinc, so our zinc number is better. And our cobalt is several hundred ppm. But we're in the same, we're in the same on the same playing field as they're on in terms of the nature of the material, and the Outokumpu style of mineralization we have is previously thought to only exist in the Outokumpu district of eastern Finland. It's since been identified in a handful of places outside of Finland, and we put forward that we are the latest identification, and that's supported by Dr. Jim Franklin. So we intend to emulate Talvivaara. They're doing their work near the Arctic Circle. And for all, I'm going to show you some pictures later in this presentation, which may make you think Malartic is the Arctic, like they didn't have that MAL in front. It's not actually the Arctic Circle. So if it's viable in northern Finland, it should be viable in Quebec. You may have seen that we have announced Dr. Nadia Miktichuk as a technical advisor for Surimeau. She's already made overtures and started relationship building in Finland. There is a desire to get access to the Canadian mining environment, so we will be continuing to pursue that either for partners or just to license their technology. Very briefly, when I say battery metals, everyone thinks lithium. There's lithium in the sediments at Surimeau. Dr. Selway gave us these targets, A through, I guess it's maybe GH. We've been prospecting. We're finding lots of pegmatites, and we're finding lithium values specifically in the sediments, but we don't know where it's coming from yet. So we'll keep working, but this is seasonal work because, as you'll see later, we're not doing any prospecting now. So lithium, we haven't answered the question yet, but it's still being worked on. Surimeau has lots of targets. Again, here is Victoria. There's Lalonde. We drilled at Lalonde. We drilled at the central area of Victoria. We're drilling there now. We did drill at the western end of Victoria, although we've subsequently gotten surface grade further south than our drill holes went in the west, so we can assume that we have to lengthen our drill holes there. So we haven't really answered what's out there yet. But the other thing we've done is down here, this is the Fuyak little string of pearls showing. We got surface battery metals numbers, surface numbers, same mineralization as we see at Victoria and Lalonde. So what's happening here? We just see a little sliver of it magnetically. We don't know. Then we announced that we saw mineralization. We prospected it, discovered it north of Lalonde. We actually staked these claims to get this entire anomaly. But what's happening up here that's echoing Lalonde very closely? Victoria echoes Lalonde, or Lalonde echoes Victoria. We don't know. We don't have the answer yet. We still have lots of work to do, and it's exciting because our starting point now is our conviction that we can continue to drill to prove up enough material and start down the pathway of emulating the Talvivaara mine. And that's a big statement, but that's not the only thing we have to do at this property, or that we can do at this property. So this property is quite fascinating. Now, why is it here? like, why do we have it? Well, I staked it. That's the easy answer. Why do we have it? But why was it available for staking? This green is the Pontiac sediments. Down here is the Descelles batholith. The Pontiac sediments were ignored. As you move over towards Ontario, there's more exploration in the Pontiac than there is in this area in Quebec. And the reason for that is simply this. You just see the little bit of the Cadillac break on the edge of the screen. The Cadillac break is such a monumental gold structure that runs from Kirkland Lake in Ontario to Val d'Or in Quebec, several hundred kilometers. Every couple kilometers, there's a gold mine, a gold deposit, or a gold showing. So it's a massive gold structure with operating mines that have been operating since the early 1900s. So there really has never been a need to look in the Pontiac, is the simple answer. Prior to us, the most significant exploration here was by Lac. In the 1980s, they drilled a little bit here, a little bit up at Lalonde, and a little bit over at the eastern end of Victoria, which we refer to as Colony. So it was just hiding in plain sight and completely overlooked, but we have it now. So we'll keep working Surimeau and Victoria as we are right now. That is our priority. The other thing we have is our Parbec gold deposit. It's a cute little thing. It's 1.8 kilometers of the Cadillac break. It's tied on to the East Amphi mine, which is the western portion of the Canadian Malartic property. Agnico's announced that they've made some sort of discovery down here in the Pontiac. They've also started a little bit of work at East Amphi. Of course, you may know that the pit's pretty much at the end of life, and they're going very deep underground at Odyssey. Does Parbec have a future role to play? Well, who knows? I talked to Agnico, and you know, it's not, they control the timeline, let's put it that way. But we will be looking to somehow monetize Parbec, be it a sale or be it a partner who wants to come in and advance the property significantly and then, you know, sell it at some point. Parbec's a neat little deposit. It's got a very high grade gold population, for lack of a better word. I apologize. It also has long intervals of gold occurring. So it's actually quite exciting. It was always presumed that the mineralization runs along the Cadillac break with the Cadillac break. So our last mineral resource estimate in 2020 was calculated on the basis of looking at slices of the break that were perpendicular to the break. We identified the island trench zone where we've got our surface and our deepest pierce point on the property. That's in the volcanics. That's something entirely different to the north. It stretches over about 500 meters right now. Lots of work could still be done there. We also had what we called the diorite splay into the Pontiac because we figured the break was bending and kind of bleeding into the Pontiac. But where I was going with this is we have a reinterpretation, or the first kind of modeling that's ever been done, underway, which has identified a fold hinge in the Pontiac, meaning the Pontiac dilated. And it allowed the diorites to intrude into, well, I'm not even going to say which way it happened because I'll get it wrong and some geologists will call me up to argue with me. So let's put the geologists on hold. Suffice to say, one of them has identified a hinge fold, which has allowed the interplay of the diorites and the Cadillac break itself. And all of our mineralization is probably diorite, subject to some degree of alteration. There is porphyry present in the Cadillac break. It's gold bearing in fracture fill. There's a lot of porphyry. It's a very low grade material. The high grade material, the exciting material, is the diorite. We also know that there is mineralization that instead of running, you know, northwest southeast with the break, is actually running east west with faults. So I put forward, or what we now consider, is that our May 2020 mineral resource estimate is very out of date because we're updating the model. So that's ongoing in a case of stay tuned. This is imagery, it's older imagery, but it's showing the presence of what might end up being plunging structures that are running east-west across the break. Again, stay tuned. So, Ernst & Young surveyed CEOs for 2023's top risks in mining.